All right. So we are back from our break. Good morning, everybody, again. I hope everybody's doing all right. We're on Cloud Plus and looking over the information on the various different types of cloud architectures. So um, let's jump into the screen share real quick. And here are our cloud models. Everybody can see my screen. Just give me a yes, no in the chat for me, guys. Yes, sir. Excellent. Thank you, Marcus. And jumping right back into it. So, cloud models. The general three types of cloud models that you're going to find out there, especially within Cloud Plus, that are defined. I see another chat that came through. Brian, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Is software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Between the three, the most common that you'll find is probably going to be infrastructure as a service. This is the model that Amazon utilizes when you go to the AWS cloud and you build out your containers, whether or not you have a Windows, a Linux, system that's going to be up there. Maybe you decide that you want network elements that are going to be presented for you. Of course, you have everything from monitor as a service, for example. Those things are all infrastructure as a service. Software as a service being applications of some type that is hosted at that third-party cloud location. Microsoft 365 could be considered a software as a service, but because I said 365, it's better explained as a platform since it has multiple services wrapped into one rather than a singular application, which is usually what we refer to as a software as a service. Taking this hierarchy, and I'll show you examples in a moment, we have the other methods of which clouds should be defined. Whether or not you're using a software as a service, whether or not you're using a platform as a service, whether or not you're using an infrastructure as a service, you have on the back end side how that cloud is built, whether it be a public cloud that has public facing elements and clients and many different tenants that are going to have their data next to each other, versus a private cloud, which is strictly designed for one owner, one tenant that will have their data present there. You can have a private cloud on premise for yourself. You can have a private cloud inside of another company that does not have other tenants that are tied within your hardware, your CPU, your storage information, the processing that is being done for you. So even though your data may exist inside of Amazon, it can still be considered a private cloud depending on its deployment. Then you have the hybrid versus community. Now, hybrid ties back into this public-private concept when you get into your cloud models, whereas a community cloud doesn't do that. It speaks to the various different vendors that work together. For example, of Akamai, because Akamai is a cloud provider for Microsoft that handles most of the um, updates associated with Windows, gets passed back and forth between different environments. They are still a cloud provider. So if they teamed up with Amazon to build out AWS together, for example, that would be a community cloud, multiple cloud providers giving you an infrastructure. Whereas a hybrid cloud is just tying different pieces together, that public and private piece. Maybe you have confidential information that has to be on site, but that on-site information still ties into the cloud provider that of AWS where your container actually is. And there's some processing that gets done, but none of the storage is there. That would be the mixture of cloud models. So taking that, we go ahead and go off to the internet. A method of building your own infrastructure as a service, for example, is something like nextcloud.com, where you could install a system, whether it be virtual or not, in your environment, and then of course start building out exactly what you want a cloud to be. This is more of a competitor to Microsoft 365 to build out a platform or infrastructure as a service, but a true dedicated platform as a service can be something like the Adobe Cloud, which has multiple different services built into it, such as their Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom, InDesign, Premiere, etc. From there, are there any questions? Good so far. So just to do checks on learning, we have a quick question I'm going to pop up for you guys. And then, of course, which of these is not a cloud architecture of type? Everybody see my polling question? Oh, there we go. I see a platform as a service as one choice. Well, if we refer back to the list of the slides, we had software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. They are all cloud types. TAAS is not a infrastructure type for cloud services.